What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the universe? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do something just a little bit different. Instead of my typical motorcycle or Jeep content, don't worry, that stuff is coming back eventually if I can ever get time off and actually work in the garage, because obviously, for those of you that don't know, today is April 1st, 2020, and this is not an April Fool's joke. That is right behind me, a construction site, still fully active. Even though we've been under a stay-at-home order for 2 weeks now, construction is classified as an essential business, an essential industry, as long as they comply with the safe distance or the social distancing order that's been in place. I don't know if you guys can see it, but they're pouring the top floor over there right now. So they've got the concrete boom up there. They got 15 or 20 guys up there on that floor, all working within 20 feet of each other. Pretty hard to maintain that 6-foot bubble now, isn't it? It's pretty hard to stay safe. And those workers are just trying to do what they can to economically get by. They're fortunate that they are in an industry that our governor has deemed essential. I work in an essential industry, and one that I actually classify as essential. About 80% of my personal time is of an essential manner, meaning I work on the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment for surgical centers, hospitals, medical care providers, medical office buildings, retirement homes, nursing communities, extended stay, extended care facilities. All of those facilities need to maintain their HVAC, and that's what I do. 80% of my time is actually responding to service calls, so something is broken or something is not acting right, and I go out and fix it. And I would classify that as essential. Maintenance, I could definitely see maintenance of HVAC equipment of those same types of facilities also being classified as essential. Construction, I don't see as essential. And no offense to all my construction friends, and I've got a lot of friends that still work construction. And I'm not saying you guys should be stuck either A, not getting paid, or B, burning through all of your PTO. Because if those are your only two options, then our government has failed us. Our leaders have failed us. And that's just the plain simple facts. And the other plain simple fact is that we see that we are alone. We see these commercials on TV and floating around the internet that we are alone together. No, we're not. If you read through the essential businesses list, and I'll put it up on the screen right now, this is actually taken from the form that a company could submit, can submit to the state to self-certify as a critical essential business. Now, quite a few of them I definitely agree with. You know, all the ones that start with critical, yeah, they're a critical essential industry, and they are required for our state to continue to function and for our citizens to remain healthy and to survive this pandemic. Quite a few of the other ones I don't agree with. I sure as hell don't agree with construction. I don't agree with landscaping operations. I don't agree with road construction that's not doing road repairs. Like, now would be a great opportunity to fix our decrepit roads around Denver, and get out there and do road repairs. And they are doing some of that, but we're also seeing crews out replacing shrubs and trimming grass. So we're trimming the green belts and making sure that they're well kept, while our citizens are stuck in their house and can't get their hair done. So we're gonna have really clean grass, really beautiful lawns in all the public areas, but everybody's gonna look like a caveman anyway, so who cares? You know, it's just a few little things that I'm like, what the hell are we doing here? And no, I'm not advocating that we should all stay at home and be completely unpaid. We just passed a $2 trillion, with a T, it's hard for me to even say, $2 trillion emergency aid bill. I don't know how it's actually aiding the American people immediately. There's a lot of discussion about what's inside that bill. One of the things that I did find is the payroll loan I can't remember what exactly they're calling it, but there's a part of that bill that says that it allocated a very large sum of funds. I can't remember exactly what it was. Somebody posted in the comments down below, or I'll do the research and put it up on the screen, one or the other. That was being allocated directly to the SBA, Small Business Administration, and those were for business loans for the purposes of payroll and basic operations, just to maintain your coworkers' economic stability, or your employees' economic stability. So if you used that loan 100% to pay payroll and payroll only, and you kept your records and you submitted those records to the SBA has actually been given the authorization to either completely forgive that loan, meaning wipe it out, it's not a loan, it's now a grant, or forgive high percentages of it, and there's some question as to which one that is. I hope it's forgive 100%, because if it's $2 trillion coming out of the Federal Reserve that we're monetizing as debt, don't get it wrong, we are monetizing as debt. I'm not an economist, see, I can't even say it, and I'm sure as hell not a doctor. I'm just somebody who reads a lot. But if we're monetizing $2 trillion in debt, that better go immediately and directly to the American people, and not to businesses, and not to the Fed. And it should be given in incentives that incentivize businesses to take care of their people. What else did I want to say? Oh, yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about some of the comparisons that are being made of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. That's what the virus is called. That's what we all catch, is SARS-CoV-2. The virus then manifests itself as COVID-19, which is the coronavirus disease 2019. It's my understanding, what I've read. So I'll be calling it SARS-CoV-2 because that's what it is. That's what the virus is. And we could all have it. And only the people that, not everybody that has SARS-CoV-2 develops COVID-19. COVID-19 is the actual respiratory, see, I'm not a doctor, ailment that causes our lungs to basically fill with fluid, you know, pneumonia. And there's an awesome video put forth by a doctor who's a pediatric surgeon, I think. I'll find it and I'll post a link to that down below. He breaks down the science of exactly what kills you when you contract COVID-19 and what cells in your lungs it attacks and how that all responds. Definitely give it a watch. It's pretty interesting. Well, it's very interesting. It's pretty entertaining. And be forewarned, he gets a little harsh at the end, but I think he was dead on in doing so because people are not taking this seriously. Now, I've seen comparisons of this to the typical annual influenza outbreak that we see every single year. There's a big problem with that. First and foremost, we have a vaccine for the influenza virus. It's voluntary, but if you get vaccinated, it is, from what I hear, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an immunologist. Yeah, yay! But from what I understand, you're getting vaccinated against last year's strain. They don't have a vaccination against this year's strain, but influenza is usually very close. You know, it mutates a little bit. The vaccines are still mostly effective. And for someone who, for the vast majority, we're talking 80–90% of his life, resisted getting the flu virus, this guy right here, I never got it. I've gotten it the last 5 or 6 years, and I haven't gotten the flu. I haven't gotten sick. I've actually felt great. I've cruised through them. I don't know if that's just luck and I haven't actually come in contact with influenza, or if the vaccine did its job, but the shot gives me a little bit of a soreness in my what's this, shoulder for like 2–3 days, and I have a good winter. Worth it to me. If I had to go every 3 months, 6 months, or once a year to get a vaccination for the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and I had the same thing, still worth it to me. And here's why. Influenza globally kills 0.1% of the people that it infects. Now, you've seen graphics saying that why are we afraid of a flu that 97% of us will survive? Well, that would mean by that graphics logic, 3% of the population didn't. Thank goodness that's not the actual facts. Actual facts, as long as you're not living in Italy, and I'm sorry, Italy, I feel for you guys. It's horrible what's happening in Italy, and there's a lot of speculation as to why Italy has the highest mortality rate in the globe. I think it's over 10% right now of the people that contract COVID-19 die. That's scary. But globally, we're talking about, I think it's anywhere from 0.9 to 1.4%. That's still 900 to 1,400 times worse than the flu that you guys are trying to compare it to. Stop comparing this to the flu. This ain't the flu. Here's another reason why. The moment you are contagious with the flu, you get the sniffles, you get the fever, you get the cough, you get the tightness of the lungs, you get full body aches. Your body tells you, I am contagious. And you know what you can't do? You can't get your ass out of bed. So that's why it doesn't infect many people. SARS-CoV-2, on the other hand, is a virus that only about 20% of the time gives you COVID-19. Remember, COVID-19 is the disease, SARS-CoV-2 is the virus. So 20% of the population will contract what we all associate as the flu. The other 80% have the virus. Their body, we don't know why, from what I've been reading, nobody knows why. Their body doesn't contract, they do not contract COVID-19. The virus never develops enough to actually give them the disease or any symptoms. They are still highly contagious. They're walking around feeling great, 0 symptoms. That's terrifying. What's the #1 symptom for the flu? Fever, right? We all say, check your temperature. Well, I've been checking my temperature morning and night because exactly 2 weeks ago today, I received notice that 2 of my sites that I had recently visited had positive cases of COVID-19, positively diagnosed cases. So I tried to get tested. It's impossible in Colorado. The only way you can get tested is if you go to a hospital and you are in emergency shape, meaning you have COVID-19 and you are needing medical care. That's that 20%. And that 20% varies, whether or not you just develop it like the worst flu you've ever heard of, you've ever had in your life, which is being reported by many survivors or recovery patients, or whether it leads to you having to be checked into the ICU and then discharged a week later, whether it means that you not only have to go into the ICU, but then a smaller percentage of that then has to be put on a ventilator because their lungs literally fill with cell goo. Again, watch the video that I linked down below. The doctor explains it better, and I ain't one. And they have to be put on ventilators. If you have to be put on a ventilator, you're on death's doorstep. And a ventilator is the only thing that's going to keep you alive because they're worried about, as the doctor says, you tiring out, which means your breathing muscles get exhausted from fighting to breathe and they no longer function and you asphyxiate. You suffocate. Any of these could be used on a death certificate instead of COVID-19. Or they could say accurately that you die of pneumonia, because that's exactly what pneumonia is. In a rough sense, pneumonia is fluid on the lungs. So take this seriously, guys. Please stay at home. Government officials, take this seriously. Urge people to stay at home. Incentivize the American public to stay at home and protect the rest of the American public. The only people that should be going out right now, the only people, in my opinion, the opinion of a layperson and admittedly a dumbass, But the only people that should be going out right now are medical professionals, people seeking emergency medical care that have been directed to do so by their doctor over the phone. You know, call your doctor, say, I've got a fever of 102.3, I can barely breathe, and I'm relaying this for blah, 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 because blah, blah, blah literally cannot get out of bed. Jane Smith, whatever their name is, right? Take them to the hospital. That should be approved transportation. Or people that are fixing critical infrastructure or that deliver critical services, i.e. food delivery, food purchasing, or medication, medical supplies, and home goods and those kind of things, manufacturing of things that are used to maintain a quality of life. Those are the only people that should be going out. And emergency service personnel, in the case of an emergency, if a hospital has a problem or sees any sort of alarm, they should call my company and we should be rolling. Until then, we should be at home. We should be incentivized to stay at home, because that's going to keep us safe. I know I'm getting preachy about this, guys. I know I kind of am, and I apologize. But the more I read, the more I get upset with people that are scared, and I understand why. Economically, financial stresses is the highest stress that I've ever felt in my life. When I was having financial hard times, I was so stressed my soul spot fell out. I mean, literally just fell out. I was pulling on it and I pulled out entire clumps from the stress. So I understand and I empathize with financial stress. And that's why I urge the government to remove financial stress. There's no reason for it. If we can give $2 trillion, how long can this country run on $2 trillion? Yeah, some of us might have to get thin. And the government might have to urge banks, as they have, to forgive a couple months of mortgage payments. Honestly, it helps the banks. You move 3 months of mortgage payments. If you move payment 130, 31, and 32 all the way down to payment 361, 362, 60, 363, you're making more money because you now have compounding interest going out 3 months longer. They're not going to stop the interest from compounding those 3 months that you're skipping, so they're getting 3 more months of compounding interest. Banks are winning out. So why not do it, government? Why not urge banks to do that? Take the financial burden off of people. If you're renting, you should have the exact same, mindset. If you're renting out to somebody, let them go 3 months, because you are not going to be paying a mortgage for 3 months, right? And then we get down to the bare essentials. And it'd be fairly easy for the government to come up with enough money for people to have enough food to live, power, electricity, and internet. You give the people enough money for that and they're staying the fuck home, bueno, we're good. Maybe a little extra for some internet splurging, buying a game, buying some little packages or that kind of stuff, whatever you kids are doing out there. But if we can do that, we can keep people home. We can keep people safe. We can keep people from stressing out. I'm gonna leave you guys with this because tomorrow it's supposed to snow. So I'm gonna pull this off with a magnet. But right now, on April 1st, 2020, and this is not an April Fool's joke, Denver, Colorado is about 70 degrees. It's absolutely gorgeous. It is prime two-wheel riding weather. It is prime rock crawling weather. None of us can take part in it. But let me turn this camera around and show you guys something pretty instead of this ugly mug. Welcome to Denver, Colorado, guys. I love this city. I absolutely love this city. One of the most iconic things, actually, let me walk right over here to this other corner and we'll leave, don't I have a view? I thought I had a view. Oh, damn it. I really thought I had a view of Union Station, which is one of the most iconic buildings in Denver. No, I don't. Shoot. Oh, yeah, right there. So, you can see the top of Union Station. I'm sure you've seen lots of pictures of it. It's an absolutely beautiful old train station. This is Lodo. Denver, Colorado. As you can see, lots of cars. There is literally, well, now there's a couple parking spots, figures. But this morning when I got here, there were no parking spots. There are still people driving around. There's still people walking around. There's still people not taking this seriously. So anyway, preach is over. Stay safe, be happy, be healthy. I hope you guys find financial stress relief in these dark times, and everybody emerges in a couple months maximum. I'm thinking this is gonna go until right around my birthday, middle of May. Realistically, just the way things are going, I'm hoping that all the travel restrictions will be eased up right around middle end of May, so that SCMM is still on. We can still get up there in those mountains, and we can play around on 2 and on 4. And I will see you guys up in the canyons, keeping that rubber side down, that shiny side up. Keep that smile on your face. I love each and every one of you guys. Peace.